We live in a world where often when people think about visioning the future, they vision stuff. So you have a vision of the car you want, or you have a vision of an amount of money you want, or you have a vision of a home you want. And you see this with people with their vision boards. Mm-hmm. What's your take on that? And is that the right type of visioning? And what is the right type of visioning?
Well, we do so many different variations because I think people integrate information differently. Mm-hmm. And all of those cars and homes and whatever that is, there are symbols of what it looks like when a person actually arrives at this concept called abundance, right? So if those things help them to associate with something that creates a feeling of abundance, and they're building their vision board to help them to get clear on their intent, then that's fine, because they're associating objects or things or material things that they'll say, that's when I know that I'm abundant. That's fine. Other people will say, look, abundance just means that I have more than I need, and I'm happy with that. And for them, there's a feeling that is associated with that. And when they begin to dream about their future, they may see themselves in a scene or see themselves a certain way. I don't care what it takes for the person to get there, because once they have their abundance, and this happens quite a bit in our work, when you finally have everything you want, there's only one thing you're going to ask yourself: how am I going to contribute to the world? Mm-hmm. How am I going to make a difference? So we use different tools to help people to get to that point. But if the person's doing the vision board and they're saying, when I get my new car, I get my new house, I get my new relationship, then I'm going to feel so great. Well, then they're back to the program, waiting for it to happen, for them to feel the emotion. They're believing their outer world has to change in order for them to feel better. There's no effect of drawing the experience to you with that way. So the person has to use those tools to get them into the emotional state for them to feel like it's already happened. Now think about this. If you get up from a creative process and you feel grateful, you feel a love for life, you feel a joy for existence, you feel a passion for the moment, you will not be looking for your future, because you'll feel like it's already happened. It's the moment that we start feeling those self-limiting emotions, that we feel separation, and then we start looking for it. Well, then, if you're waiting, you're not creating. You're in separation again. So then, whatever it takes for you to move into a state of being. And what is a state of being? Thoughts are the vocabulary of the brain. Feelings are the vocabulary of your body. How you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So then, if you wake up in the morning and you come back to your senses with a clean slate and you say, I don't feel anything, you say, well, let me start thinking about all the problems in my life. Well, all those problems are connected to different people or different objects or things at different times and places. The moment you remember your problems, a memory is a record of the past. You're thinking in the past. Every one of those problems has an emotion associated with it. So all of a sudden you start feeling unhappy, you start feeling bitter, you start feeling frustrated. So now your body's in the past. So then most people then create a state of being that's connected to their past. And if they're in the familiar past, then they are going to crave the predictable future, and they're going to fall back into routine. So then We want people then to get very clear on that vision of their future, however they do it, and begin to combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion. And the stronger the emotion they feel from the vision they're creating, the more altered they feel inside of them, the more they're going to pay attention to the pictures in their mind. And now they're remembering their future. And biologically, it's exactly the same as remembering your past. In fact, if you're not being defined by a vision in the future, it means you're making your past more real than your future. You're falling in love with your past. You're more in love with your past than you are with your future. That you're believing in your past more than you're believing in your future. When you get to that moment where you have that feeling, that's your compass. Because that feeling is going to drive your behaviors. It's going to drive more of those thoughts. And when you feel that feeling and it's visceral, no person, no thing, no experience will stand in the way between you and that vision. And you will be initiated by the universe into wealth. You will be initiated into health. You'll be initiated into freedom. Those people, all those people that have healed themselves of all those different health conditions, they are so humble and so happy, and they feel so great that they would never trade this feeling because of what you thought of them. They've left that program behind a long time ago. They actually don't care how you think of them. They actually are so happy with themselves that they're no longer dependent on anything outside of them. Now, I think that's a really important moment, because that's the moment we give people permission in our lives to do the same, right? And I think that more and more people are beginning to figure that out as they do this work.
Now, your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a reflection of your external environment. It's an artifact of all the things you've learned and experienced to date. Feelings and emotions are the end product of past experiences. And if you're feeling the same way every single day, it means two things. Number one, nothing new is happening in your life. And if those emotions are driving certain thoughts, and those thoughts then are creating the same emotions, then your thinking equal to your emotional state means you're thinking in the past. And if you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, as long as you're thinking equal to your familiar emotions, you keep reaffirming the same past experiences in your life over and over again. Our research shows without a doubt in the last 3 years that when students of our work combine a clear intention. Now, intention is a vision, a potential that already exists in the quantum field that you get to select. And when you ask yourself a question like, what would it be like to be healthy? What would it be like to be wealthy? What would it be like to be free or to be in love? The moment you ask that creative question, part of your brain called the frontal lobe turns on. That's the crowning achievement of a human being. Once that area of the brain turns on, it's like a great symphony leader. It looks out of the landscape of the entire brain, and it begins to randomly select different networks of neurons that are connected to the things you've learned in your life or the experiences you had. And it begins to seamlessly paste them together to create an ideal, a vision, or an internal representation. That is a potential experience that's awaiting you. But it's not enough to just have the mind involved. Thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. And how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. Once you can begin to emotionally embrace that future reality, before it's made manifest. When you combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion, the freedom, the joy, the inspiration, the genuine love that you feel or gratitude from that experience, the moment you do that, your body, as the unconscious mind, begins to believe it's living in that future reality in the present moment. Now you're moving into a new state of being, into a new personality. And a new personality creates a new personal reality. The research that we've done shows that when we teach people how to regulate their internal states, to begin to create more coherence in their brain, and to generate elevated emotions like joy and gratitude and inspiration, that not only does the brain become coherent, but so does the heart. And when the brain is coherent, the heart is coherent. When the heart is coherent, the brain is coherent. And so why don't we live by these states on a daily basis? Primarily because the majority of the time that we live in our waking state of consciousness, 70% of the time, you and I are living by the hormones of stress. And living in stress is living in survival. And when you're living in survival, the very chemicals of survival cause you to function as materialist, defining your reality with your senses. You pay attention to objects and things and people. You begin to believe that your outer world is more real than your inner world. And the side effect of this, over time, begins to cause us to feel separate from possibility. Why? Because when you're threatened by some predator or some danger in your life, it's not a time to go in. It's not a time to trust the unknown. It's not a time to open your heart and feel love. It's not a time to communicate. It's not a time to create. It's not a time to learn. It's a time to survive. So then, in order for us to create then, we have to lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want, for something greater to occur. And most importantly, we want you to understand when you're in the creative state and when you're not. And if you were to take a little time every day and apply some of the principles in changing beliefs and perceptions about yourself and your life, and what is a belief other than a thought you keep thinking over and over again? And all beliefs are based on past experiences. And in order for you to change a belief or perception about yourself and your life, you have to make a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carries a level of energy that's greater than the hardwired programs in your brain and the emotional conditioning in your body. And your body literally has to respond to a new mind. And when the choice becomes an experience that you never forget, that's the moment the past biologically no longer exists in you. And people around the world are changing beliefs and perceptions that are based on past experiences from 30 and 40 and 50 years ago. And the side effect is that they're creating new lives. All potentials in the quantum field exist in the present moment. So that when you sit down to create something in your future, it's important for you to understand that only when you're in the present moment do you have access to possibility. Once you understand what it's like to be in the present moment, change your energy. And when you change your energy to match a potential that already exists in the quantum field electromagnetically, when your energy matches that experience energetically, that's when reality is drawn to you. That's when the new experience begins to find you. So whether you want to change your health, or create something new in your life, or experience a mystical moment, a lucid dream, whatever your passion or desire is, specifically select those potentials and create the life that you want, so that you don't have to go and get it, that in fact it comes to you. So think about this. Most people wake up in the morning, and the first thing they do is they get in touch with the feeling that defines them. The moment they get in touch with that feeling, whether it's suffering or guilt or shame or judgment or unworthiness, they begin to start their day from that emotional state. In other words, they're already living in the past. And once they turn on the certain chemicals that drive certain brain circuits, they expect their life to change. But they're thinking the same thoughts, performing the same actions, and living by the same emotions, but secretly expecting their life to change. What if, then, in a small example, you became conscious of those emotions that keep you anchored to the past. And you begin to change your emotional state means you would begin to change your energy. Now, from a quantum perspective, the thoughts that you think are like the electrical charge in the quantum field. The feelings that you emote are like the magnetic charge in the quantum field. And how you think and how you feel broadcasts an electromagnetic signature that influences every single atom in your life. The thought sends the signal out, and the feeling draws the event back. So you are broadcasting information on a daily basis into the field. When you change your energy, you literally change your life. And if you're able to maintain that change in energy, you will begin to draw new experiences to you. And that's when you become the scientist in measuring fruits of your efforts. And as I said, common people all over the world, in all different cultures, are doing the uncommon. They're healing themselves from diseases, chronic diseases, serious, potentially fatal diseases. They're creating wonderful new jobs and opportunities. They're winning the lottery. They're having mystical experiences that begin to uncover the mystery of who we really are. And I think that the biggest lie that we've ever been told is that we're linear beings living a linear life. But in fact, we are dimensional beings living a dimensional life. And so uncovering the mystery of the self, beginning to look deeper and understanding who we are, that if knowledge is power, then knowledge about yourself is self-empowerment. And I want to inspire you and motivate you so that you can begin to apply these principles so that you get to be the recipient of your own efforts. For example, we've had several people in our work heal themselves of very difficult conditions. One lady in particular experienced a very sudden loss. The event in itself produced very strong emotions. Those emotions then lingered for periods of time, and it began to define her as a personality. Now, it's a scientific fact that the hormones of stress push the genetic buttons and create disease. So the long-term effects by living by those chemicals literally are harmful to our body, justified